Parents of Indigenous pupils at one of the most remote schools in the country are up in arms over mass suspensions that they say could be illegal and endanger their children. Earlier this year, more than half the students attending Wilcannia Central School were suspended in apparent breach of Education Department policy. 2 Aboriginal education officers at the school say it even happened to their own children. The New South Wales Education Minister has promised to investigate the claims and has convened a special meeting at the school tomorrow. Matt Peacock reports.
Wilcannia on the Darling River, 200 kilometres from Broken Hill in the desert country of far western New South Wales, an isolated community where jobs are scarce.
It's a town that has a proud culture, one of the living oldest cultures in the country, the Barkindji tribe, and they're a great community and I love being here.
And this weekend, David Lydiard and other former rugby league greats are here to encourage Indigenous youngsters to break out of a cycle of poverty.
Okay? And that's what tackling is about. I come up, I go bang, bang, and then whoosh down.
Live healthy lifestyles, stay at school and get an education. We want to back that up by giving our kids aspirations to know that when they finish school they've got something to go to.
Finishing school, though, is part of the problem in a town torn by recent mass student suspensions.
There was 130-something enrolled at the beginning of the year. Now we're getting about 30 to 40 kids.
For 8 years, Gordon, or Sunno Mitchell, has worked as an Aboriginal education officer along with his wife Rebecca at the local school that their children attend. Out of town earlier this year at a training conference, they were shocked to learn that 3 of their kids had been suspended.
We wasn't informed about anything. No call from the school or anything. No one at the school to inform us. Our kids could have been hurt within that time. That's why I'm a bit upset about that.
So I was down in Cobo on my way home and found out that they was out of school. And there was fights and they had to walk across the highway to get home.
That day, more than half of the students at the school were suspended following a fist fight between 2 girls in the main street. Retired school principal and Aboriginal education specialist Noel Beddoe interviewed 8 of them.
They said to me they didn't know that they weren't allowed to leave the school at lunchtime. Some of the kids, for whatever reason, hadn't had any breakfast. These were small children. Older children left the school grounds and bought hot chips for them and brought them back for their siblings to eat for lunch. And as they entered the school, they were suspended. More than 20 in one day. None of them, not one, received due procedure.
If it is the case, if suspensions were made without following policy, then that's not acceptable. It just isn't acceptable. No parent should not know where their child is during the day.
Department suspension procedures, now belatedly published in the school newsletter, prohibit sending a child home before day's end without the parent's agreement.
I spoke to one mother who told me that her daughter had been signed out of school, and I asked the child, who's 12-year-old, what's that mean? And she said, I wasn't allowed to go back. And I said to the mother, what did you do? And she said, I went to the school to say what's happened and negotiated the child to come back on probation. There's nothing about any probation in the policy. The child, so I was told, was signed out again. I was told that I tried to catch up with one kid who was riding around town on a bike. I was told he'd been expelled. He wasn't allowed to go back to school. None of this is legal.
Signed out to the kids is being suspended. That's what the kids just call it, signed out of school, but the suspension. Parents are not being notified about it till a day or 2 after. Parents aren't aware of it because the kids don't go home and tell their parents that they've been suspended. They think they're at school. The parents at home think their kids in a safe place, but the kids have been suspended. They just walk on the street.
In a submission to the New South Wales Ombudsman, Noel Beddoe observed,
It is impossible for anyone to establish how many suspensions there have been from Wilcannia School over the past 12 months.
My daughter walked out of school grounds. At the time, my daughter was 6 years old,
and my daughter Chantel was 13. They walked home from the bullying. They walked home along the highway.
Katie Jasper's kids walked out of school because they said they'd been bullied. Running the school might not be easy, she agrees, but if things don't improve, her family's leaving town.
It's not an easy feat, but you can't have kids walking out of school either, and or if they meet danger, the school is on the main highway. They can, a stranger or anything will pick them up. It is the school's responsibility as far as I am concerned.
Overwhelmingly, the population here at Wilcannia is Indigenous, and there are local jobs being planned for people that complete their schooling. But the real challenge here is not just to get the kids to go to school, but to encourage them to stay there.
It's hard to get accurate figures at times on the numbers that are there, but at times you only have to look around the streets and see the number that have either been not attending school or are not allowed to attend school at that time.
Wilcannia's Mayor, Paul Brown, believes the government and community must do better.
Rather than seeing those kids then disappear off down the river and not come back for 2 months, there has to be a better way.
The simple fact of the matter is, if you suspend a student often enough, he doesn't come back. He just gives up on the whole business.
No one can deny that there's been a loss of trust between the community and the school. I think that's what's happened, and we need to restore that trust. And in fact, it's up to the Education Department to restore that trust. So that's why I've asked the director, the regional director and the principal to meet with community representatives tomorrow. That has to be the first step. If there have been breaches of suspension policy, well, that is not acceptable.
The problem is that this needs to be fixed, and it's up to them to fix it, because it's getting a bit too far out of hand at the moment, and people are getting upset about it. I'm upset. I'll let you know that. I'm very upset with what's going on.
Matt Peacock with that report, and that's the program for tonight. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow, but for now, good night.